Thanks for checking out this movie review video. So this is for the 2022 film Fresh, and when I'm doing this review, it is available for streaming on the Hulu streaming service. Yes, I stray from Shudder from time to time and do other streaming services, and Hulu has a decent horror offering, in my opinion, better than Netflix, I think, overall. Fresh is directed by Mimi Cave, and this is that individual's first feature, although she has done a lot of music videos in the past, and I think that influence really does show up in this film in a good way. Sometimes that sort of influence shows up in a bad way in these films, but in this instance, it's integrated well. Written by Lauryn Kahn, who wrote scripts for Ibiza and Text for You, which I don't think Text for You has come out yet, but Ibiza has, and I have not seen those films. But good script, well written, relatively tight, and that's kind of hard to do to actually keep it moving. There are some slight pacing issues with this film in general, in my opinion, but still doing pretty well. The opening credits, you need to know this up front. The opening credits don't happen until 33 minutes into the film. That's an interesting choice. Some people may hate that. Some people may love that. I think it's cool because there's a reason for it. There's kind of a tonal shift in the film, a pretty significant tonal shift that happens in that point. And so for that reason, it actually feels right that they do the credits right there, because it's almost giving you a little bit of a break to kind of catch up and understand what's about to happen. So I like that. Very unorthodox, but I'm down with it. The big name from this film, Sebastian Stan of the Winter Soldier fame, playing Bucky Barnes in all the superhero movies. I love him as that character. I think he's also just a great actor. Some people may also know him as playing Tommy Lee in the Pam and Tommy sex tape movie that I think was on Hulu as well. I have not watched it. Don't really have any interest, except, I don't know, Margot Robbie and Sebastian Stan, both wonderful actors. Maybe I'll check it out for that reason. But Sebastian Stan does an excellent job in this film. I bet he had fun with this role. It's the type of role that if I were an actor, I think I would have a lot of fun doing, because it's very, I don't know, it's complicated. That's where I'm going to leave it. It's complicated. Anyway, synopsis, I don't want to say too much about it. It's basically about a main character, a woman named Noah, who decides that she's, I don't want to say down on her luck, but kind of over dating to a degree, but she's kind of still doing it. So she's got this real doom and gloom outlook on dating, and things are really starting to get to her from the dating standpoint, but also overall society, because there's a lot of metaphor going on with what's going on with dating and actual society in general. And there's actually just, a large metaphor in this film in general that I won't talk about because it gives too much away. And I'll be honest, if you've seen the kind of promotions, the marketing for this film, I think it's already giving way too much away about the film. I think that sucks. I have not seen the trailer. I don't watch trailers for films typically because I want to go in pretty blind, but I did see a poster for this, and that ruined part of it for me. But I'm going to bet the trailer did even worse, to be honest. So I hope if you're going to watch the film, you have not seen the trailer. The film immediately strikes a good, awkward, funny tone, which I like. It kind of keeps things it's not afraid to get dark and get messed up and get scary and very horror, and it does that, but it also maintains this fun tone that kind of shows up here and there to give you a little bit of a break while still not messing with the story. And I like that because it's a very different type thing, and it's done well with this film. The dialogue is really well written, and the characters feel extremely realistic. Their relationships feel realistic. Their interactions feel realistic. It is not easy to nail dialogue, and I think that dialogue was nailed. So writer Khan did a wonderful job. Kudos to you on that. And it's a cool story. It's an interesting story, and the way things develop, it's a good progression. I like it. There's a very well done feeling of exhaustion with dating, and the main character conveys that well. This goes to good acting, which there's very good acting in this film. I don't really think there's anyone that I saw delivering lines or doing whatever in the film and was that's not that great. Oh, good to great, in my opinion. So, nailing it there. There's a scene that literally started to give me anxiety. Like, I literally was feeling my anxiety working up, and I had to kind of like take a minute. That could be more me than a lot of other people, but I don't know. But a lot of that anxiety kind of spawned from the implications of what this was meaning for the story and where it made me anticipate things were going to go, which I was correct about that. And I actually did guess a lot of the twists to this film, which is not a bad thing. I know there are some people out there who will be like, "Oh, I was able to guess the twist, so it's a crappy movie. Like, you have to surprise me." I don't feel that way because the way I watch films, I'm typically trying to figure things out ahead of time because for me that's kind of fun. I know it's not that way for everyone, but I like that. It seems like a bit of a puzzle to me. So if I guess twists already, as long as they're still well done and they make sense for the story and they enrich the story, I like it. And I think in this instance, totally good. I'm down with it. There's a huge tonal shift. I already talked about that. And I love that tonal shift. Like, it's literally like the pressure in the room changes for you as an audience member. It's something. There's a scene about 45 minutes in that is messed up, but it's done in a fun and upbeat way. And this is what I was talking about that kind of like fun, upbeat aspect to the film. It's very mismatched. Like, the music and what the character's doing versus what's actually happening is very at odds, and I like that when you can kind of confuse a person in a way as an audience member, where you're just like, well, it's being shot like this, but really with what's going on, it's like this. So I love those types of moments, and it's a cool, inspired moment, I really think, with the film. There is some really nice and inspired camera work. You can tell that the director, Cave, knows what they're doing, has known what they're doing, is really nailing it, and I would love to see both what Cave and what Kahn will do in the future, because quite a nice script, very excellent directing, and cinematography. I'm all about it. And that's the thing, like, there are so many films that you see where it's just kind of like serviceable directing, serviceable cinematography. This is not that. This is, you can tell they approach this and they're like, I'm going to put a lot into this. I'm going to get a little creative. I'm going to make it fun as well. Music is integrated extremely well, which points to Cave's past in making some music videos. This is what I was talking about, being done in a good way. The musical choices are great, and they maintain that kind of fun tone that pops up every now and then in the film that I love, that is kind of maintained. They do drop it out from time to time for the purpose of really kind of hitting things home for the audience, you know, increasing that atmosphere and making it more horror-like. So it's not all fun, you know, just know. Yeah, it's not all fun. Characters are not stupid. That is a refreshing thing, too. There are a lot of films, and I think a lot of people expect it for older films like 90s, 80s, 70s, going all the way back, where characters just do things dumb, and you're just like, oh my gosh, in real life you wouldn't do that. This script was written with that in mind and saying, we're going to have smart characters. Characters who don't approach a situation and do it with a blank mind, which happens a lot in film. So I really appreciate that. I'm sure that made it harder to write the script, but there's a good payoff for that. There is a twist later that I saw coming. Well, like I already talked about, I saw a bunch of the twists coming, but I'm good with it, no problem. The film may be too gross and or disturbing for some people. If you think about it too much, yeah, it's disturbing, yeah, it's gross, and there's a lot of like gross imagery that gets thrown into it that may be hard for some people to handle. I'm not going to say anything about what it is because it would point way too much at what's going on in the film. But yeah, some people may be too squeamish with this. Some people may be too grossed out. Some people may turn off the film. I don't know. I was fine with it, but I could see people having a tough time with it. Decent ending. Not a awesome ending, but a decent ending. Kind of ties things up pretty well. I was happy enough with it. I don't, unfortunately, think that this film needed to be almost 2 hours. I think with credits and everything, it was, an hour and 54 minutes? It doesn't need that. It really could have and should have been cut back a little bit. Not a ton, maybe like 10, 15 minutes cut off of it. Because for the most part, the pacing is pretty solid, but there are definitely those moments where it really does start to drag a little bit, and you do feel like things are being rehashed maybe a little bit too much. if your audience member is paying attention, they're getting what's being laid down in the film. So you should be all right. The film speaks a lot to the BS that women have to deal with in society. Now, like I'm saying, there's a huge metaphor at play here, and it plays to this whole how women are treated, what women have to deal with in society. And it's very apparent. It's not like this kind of like, oh, it's subtext. It's very out in the open and kind of like slaps you over the head, which usually I'm not cool with. But in this instance, I think it's got this little bit of a tongue-in-cheek aspect to it, but also being serious at the same time. And I think it works really well. So you can like kind of laugh about it, but then also be like, yeah. So I think it's done well. So obviously, overall, I think this film is done quite well. And out of 5 stars with half stars in play, I'm going to give it a very, very, very solid 4-star rating. I was between 4 and 4.5, but I just don't feel like it's quite at that 4.5 for me. Maybe a more significant ending for it and tightening up, and it would have been 4.5 or even a 5 at that point. But no, 4 stars, which is I do not give out lightly. People, if you've been watching my reviews long enough. But anyway, I would love to hear your thoughts on it. We can do spoilers. You can talk spoilers in the comments. Go ahead down there. Love it, hate it, in between. But tell me why. Don't just say I loved it or I hated it. Tell me why. Do me a quick favor, hit subscribe if you haven't already. That is your way to keep me motivated. That is your way to pay me back if you like this video or any video I've ever done. You're not paying me money for this. No one is paying me money for this at this point. So if you could just do me that favor and hit subscribe, I would greatly appreciate it. Also hit the notification button and you'll know when I'm putting up new videos, which at this point I'm doing 4 a week, which I think is a solid amount. Regardless, I thank you very much for taking your time to watch this video. And until next time, keep it brutal.